25 years opportunity to take advantage of new developments in the open data arena. So why care about open data? Well, open data waves come around every 20 to 25 years. And when they have come around, they have offered. So why care about open data? Well, open data opportunities and changes come around every 20 to 25 years. And when they arrive, they bring exciting opportunities, particularly for startups, new developments, but every organization can benefit from open data. Open data boosts GDP growth by around 0.4%, which when we're looking at a whole economy, up to 1.4%, that's a huge amount of money. Just weather data alone in the US is worth 2 billion a year. Traffic data is the same, and map data is worth a fortune to the economy. And there is plenty more data where that comes from. It creates opportunities for innovation. Large corporations like Apple use the same open data technology as you and me could use if we wanted to start up our own business, especially when it comes to map data, which we will have a look at in a moment. And just generally, the fact that we have so many data sets out there means that we have more accountability, we have more information, and more information means better decision making. So what is open data? Well, very simply, open data is data that is freely available for the public to inspect. The vast majority of data is in private hands, and you have to pay a lot of money to get your hands on it. This data is free as long as you know how to access it. If we think about what makes data open data, it has to be available. So in particular, we think about it being on the internet. It has to be accessible. So it must be in a machine readable format. PDFs are not machine readable or not readily machine readable. It has to be available for reuse and redistribution. We have open data sets that we use in our courses and we redistribute them. We take them from the original source, we check the license to make sure we can reuse them, and then we can do all sorts of things with them for our own purposes. And then finally, it has to offer universal participation. So there's no criteria for accessing that data today. We'll have a look a little at how it was in the past. But this is a really important point because it means that it doesn't matter where you are in the world, we are accessing the same data, the same information, and that's what makes it so powerful as a tool for developing business and developing economies. If we think about an example, one of my favorites is OpenStreetMaps. This is an open source map dataset, a little bit like Google. Here it is. And as you can see, I've got it set up here and it's got incredible detail. I have it set up to show me a part of India. You can type anywhere in here. Let's go for London. Let's go for Westminster. Look at the lovely detail we have here. We have all sorts of information, not just about where the streets are, where the parks are, but we also have information about businesses. It's an incredibly detailed map, all created by volunteers, which is amazing. And you can access this through the API to do all sorts of incredible apps and solutions that you can create. To put it in perspective, this is the map that Amazon use when they have to direct traffic and deliveries for their business. So it's a really, really powerful tool. There's lots more open data sets beside that, but that's one of my favorites. When we think about, the challenges of data, The vast majority is in private hands. Think about social media data, think about search data, think about privately collected data. The fact that we have so much freely available information is also really useful if you are an academic researcher. Sometimes getting your hands on data to investigate something can be very challenging. If you've never searched open data before, this is a great resource. Okay, now the exciting part, what's changing this year? And the changes that are coming are really very special. Let me give you a brief history lesson. When we go back to the 1970s, we had a period of mistrust in government. There was a series of scandals, an economic crisis, and people felt that governments could no longer be trusted. And so that's when governments decided to start opening up some of their data sets, not many, and they allowed certain trusted people to have a look at them, to inspect them, to see what those governments were doing, particularly here in the UK and in the USA. The people who could access them were lawyers, perhaps, to make cases, or journalists, to verify that the government was doing the right thing. It was very limited, but then back in the 1970s, the technology simply wasn't there to share more widely. Fast forward to the 2000s, to the late 1990s and the 2000s, we had the internet, and we had, in particular, the World Wide Web, which made the internet easy for everyone to use, and in particular, easy to download data. And so we had the technical means to make it easy to download a data set or to remotely access that data. And it also coincided again with politics. The politics at the time was what we called third wave politics, which really emphasized accountability. It was popular across Western Europe, in the UK, and in the USA. And so the idea was that governments would support you, but they expected you to play your part and act responsibly. And in particular, one of the big pushes for the second wave of open data was the relief money that was often sent as support for countries that were in crisis. There was a condition attached. You can have the money, but you've got to share the data so we can trace where that money's going, and we can check that it's going to the hungry people, not buying a gold-plated airplane or whatever the concerns were. And so in the 2000s, we got a huge range of data sets made available to anyone who wanted to access them, environmental data sets, every kind of data set you can imagine. And you could download it on the internet. You could find it, you could download it. And of course, we also have other sources, not just government. We have Kaggle, has a huge number of data sets that you can use. And there are lots of repositories out there. This was great, but the focus was on making the data available. People at that point hadn't quite realized the value. That came a little later. After they released it, they realized, wow, look at the value of this data to the economy. Look at the value of this weather data. Look what people are doing with it. And so today, this summer in particular, here in the UK, we are seeing the push towards a national data library. This is really exciting because it fixes some of the problems that we had with the 2000s. In the 2000s, they were isolated data sets. They weren't very compatible. They weren't very easy to use to make money. Some of them were easy, open map data, weather, traffic, but a lot of them were not that helpful. The UK government has been experimenting with the National Federated Data Set, which is a platform that allows people to access all sorts of information. And they're expanding it to other sources of open data. And we hope that this platform, the technology behind it, will be shared with many governments internationally. The emphasis in 2025 is for economic value. Make the data more useful, make it more usable, promote the economy through great open data. Why is this important? Well, say I have a social concern. I want to solve the problem of rough sleeping. This is homeless people in Westminster, in central London. And I just want to know, well, how many rough sleepers are there in London? Where would I go for that data? Today, without a national data library, I would have to approach quite a few different people. I might approach the charitable sector. This is Centrepoint Building, which is a large charity that owns this building, and they support homeless people in London. I might support church organisations. This is St James's in Piccadilly, and they have rough sleepers on their church pews every evening, and they do a lot of work to support those people who are homeless in the area. I could support the local council, the Westminster Council. I could ask them, well, do you know? If we had one federated data set that collated all of this information in one place, I would have A, an easier time, and B, a better picture of the problem. And that's the point of a national data library. It's to make this data available in one place. Very exciting. And in particular, not just one place, but to make sure that data is compatible, that it's all in the same format. It might be created by different people, but it's all interoperable. Why is this valuable? Well, if we look at the health service, again, we've already had the federated data set there for the last year or so, and it's exceeded its 4-year targets after 1 year. So it's been terrifically popular and heavily used. And when we get more of these federated data platforms, we're going to see more solutions coming. It can give insights into the population health, especially in the UK, where the majority of the population, the vast majority, access national healthcare. We hope that from that population health level, we can inform policy, and we might get person level insights. We can find another person who has similarities with you, or ideally a group of people who have similarities with you, and we can recommend better care and better treatment. It allows for the coordination of care. If you think about a hospital and how many people are required to get someone with serious illness back on their feet, it's a lot of different departments. It may be different organizations, huge number of people involved, and having that data in one place allows us to coordinate better. In particular, it's been used for business applications in the health service to manage the supply chain better, to find economies of scale and benefits, and other business efficiencies. I've seen lots of projects to reduce waiting time and improve scheduling. That kind of thing was an obvious winner. If we think about the vaccination and immunization programs of the whole population, it's like organizing a census every year. Terrifically complicated. We hope it will be easier with this process in place, with this data set in place. And we are still 5 years on in the recovery phase from the pandemic, especially in terms of healthcare services and catching up and all of these things. So look at the opportunity available, look at where people have grasped the chances with healthcare already. Now imagine that coming to business, to the environment, to climate, to all sorts of other areas. We are looking at a huge opportunity to get better information and make better decisions. And so open data is super exciting, and 2025 is a really exciting year because this is a once in 25 years change coming along. The opportunities are out there. If you like what you've heard and you're interested in learning more, please do visit our website.